We're going to bring in some tracks from my good friend Lauren, whose voice has been giving me goosebumps on this track. We're working on this together. So we did scratch vocals already, and now we've got a song form with verses and chorus, lead melody, vocal, some backup vocals, and some extra effects like spoken word kind of stuff on top, which is super fun. I got 8 channels of audio to mix. I just opened them up this morning. I got them last night. And I did the basic prep, so I'm going to show you how I take this through to make it sound like a nice polished vocal. And while I'm waiting for my live stream to get up so I can see your comments and see who's here, let me just dip into a quick recommendation for the Mixatexture member site. This is at courses.mixatexture.com. And when you get here, you can sign up for the free Ableton resources, which is totally free. No credit card required. You don't even need to wait for a welcome email or anything. You click the sign up here button and you get into things like free presets. You just put in your name and email address. You agree not to steal all the stuff. And you can sign up right away. Instantly get to download some really cool free presets. You can find out what session lessons are all about. These are my hands-on guided projects where you learn Ableton production from inside the program. That means you hear audio instructions, you see automated examples inside live. You don't have to watch on video, you can actually do it. And then you get hands-on activities to learn by doing it, which are really, really fun. This whole site's full of them. And you can scroll through the available options to see what's there, like the core elements of electronic music to help you figure out how to go about making a track in the world of production. And then a bunch of other stuff, escape the 8-bar loop, oscillators, sound design, some stuff about EQing. There's all kinds of good stuff in there, sidechain compression. So check that out. And if you really want to help out with what we're doing on live video, click up top to support on Patreon. You can sign up for only $10 a month and you get access to the archive of custom sounds, which are instruments and effects racks that I build for my own tracks. And you can download all these really fun ones like basses and sub instruments, drum racks, synths, effects racks, all macro mapped with 8 controls on top to make it really fun for you to tweak them and create your own sounds. So I'm not talking about just copying other people's sounds or making something that you think, other people, every video is going to sound great. No, you actually learn how to tweak your own sounds and come up with stuff that's fun to listen to. So where is my stream? I'm in the mood to click to expand and see who's here. There we go, mixing female vocals. Oh, the subtitle is wrong on that. It says page 238 and making music from DeSantis. That's not right. So I gotta edit that. There's audio. Who's here? Come on in, say hi. Let me know where you're at, how you're doing, how you're feeling. It's kind of cold and rainy here today. So I'm actually happy to be in the studio. And I don't see any chat messages yet, so I'm gonna dive into live and get this cracking. So here is the basic track, okay? And we've got not too many channels this time. I think it's about 16 tracks of audio or something like that. But the point is, now I have this cool vocal bus. So I made a vocal bus. Gabor's here, what's going on? Super windy here and my head explodes. Yep, that's what it happened. That's sorry your head exploded. Hope it gets back together. Hey, Lori Johnson, hi. So the first thing I did was I created a vocal bus, which is just an audio track with no input going to master. So I could take my channels of vocal audio and send them to the Vox bus and have a place where I can mix them, where I can mute everything else and hear just what's going on with the vocals. Josh Harper. Amos, hey dude, haven't seen you for a while. And the next thing I did was I opened up my folder of audio stems that I got from Lauren. And I was so happy to see, look at these labels. This is just so amazing. Vocals, chorus 1, chorus 2, chorus 3, chorus harmony low, chorus harmony low. I didn't title these audio files. She delivered them with titles on this, which is so amazing. And not only that, but on the vocals, we got verse 1, verse 2, verse spoken. So this made it so easy for me to make 2 groups of sounds. All right, so over here, I got the chorus vocals in one audio track and the verse vocals in another audio track. Why is that useful? Well, when you're mixing, you need to hear the sounds together. I mean, that's kind of goes without saying. Yep, I'm well, feeling good. Mikey Archimedes, dude, I've been following your posts on your developments out there, I think in West Coast world. So good morning to Mikey, 9:06 a.m. The reason I wanted to group these verses and choruses in separate audio groups is because look at how they stack up. Here's a verse section where you've got 1, 2, 3 sections with audio all happening at the same time. And I already had that on a loop. Then when it comes to the chorus, oh, what's up here? Bam, 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 bam. 4 audio files, 4 blocks of sound, ready to cut a loop and mix. And look at what's going on up top. I've got markers for verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse 2. Is there stuff in verse 2? There is. It's down there. So when I was laying this out with Lauren, she suggested a song form that might work. So that was her idea. And thank you for that. And then so I was like, okay, so I'll build a song form with verse, chorus, and give her a space to write. Now she wrote a verse that fills up half of this section. So whatever, that's totally cool with me. Then we got chorus and then verse fade out and everything. And this part is super interesting over here when we get to the end. Oh my gosh, giving me goosebumps. I want to read that comment, but let's actually listen to what's in this track. Now I'm warning you, I haven't mixed this yet. I just got these in here. I just started processing the vocals. So when I open up these tracks, it might come in a little bit sneaky loud. And because we're doing verses first, I want to move this to the left, just so I kind of have my eye on it. I'm going to mute the chorus. I selected a loop in the arrangement. And this is something I learned from my audio engineering professor in school when we were working with Pro Tools. He said, when you're doing a mix session and you got a track and you're going to have your client sitting on the couch behind you, staring at you, and you don't want to make a mistake, what you should do to prepare your session is drop some markers so you can easily find the different parts of the song. The idea is that to really make a good mix, you got to know what is loudest and when in the track is the loudest moment so you can make sure that you're dealing with your gain staging properly. And if you don't have that laid out with markers, you might end up skipping around and wasting time and looking kind of like a buffoon. And we don't want that vibe going on. So I'm going to play this verse loop and fade in the volume on the verse vocal to make sure that it doesn't come blasting out the speakers and break anybody's head. Okay, here we go.
Walking through this fire.
And now I'm not going for the mix right now. I just want to be able to hear it.
That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distanced illusion. Ask here, will you tire?
Okay, so
Walking through
that's our
this
verse loop.
fire.
This is why I love bus groups, because I can easily mute everything else in the track, only work with the vocals, and I'm even going to mute the other two and just work with the lead vocal, main one, on track 11. For anybody who's just coming in, this is what you missed. So the first thing I did, I took the audio files. I got the labels on them. I understood the names of them. I grouped them, put them into a bus group. So I have the chorus tracks in one group and the verse tracks in another group. Then I figured out, okay, the functions, verse, chorus, get the sections. So I know with markers where I can find each sound when I want it. Now I'm going to work with the main lead vocal first. The first thing as I did, I put on a spectrum analyzer on the master channel, like I love to do. And I wanted to get an idea of what kind of recording process did this artist go through? What has been done so far? Is this totally raw, or is it like, did she record it and mix it? Or, you know, what am I working with? So I've got main vocal soloed. And
ask here, will you tire? Walking through this fire.
What do you hear? What do you see?
Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
Katie, yes.
Purify all that you're making.
It's going to go to replay.
Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distanced illusion.
Okay, so I'm pretty much asking the same question every time I look at the spectrum on any sound in the world. I want to ask, what is happening in the sub range below 100 hertz? Is that a critical part of the instrument? So is this a kick drum? No. Is it a bass guitar? No. That means whatever's happening below 100, I'm pretty much going to cut it out. The other question I want to ask is, where is the lowest frequency that's important in this sound? So in other words, when I'm EQing, what frequency on the EQ do I dial in to keep the most important part of the low sound? So let's watch the spectrum and identify those two things. Is the sub important, number one? And number two, where is the lowest resonant part of this sound that we want to keep?
Ask here, will you tire?
I got the mouse on this.
Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
Bum, 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 ba da ba ba. Right here. That looks like the note G around 200 hertz. I'm not so concerned about the name of the note, but what I'm noticing is that in the lower end of her voice, the main peaks are
you, will you tire?
Right around there. And I love Spectrum because you can put the mouse right on the peak line, read the numbers in that little box, and get a frequency. It's amazing. So I can see, basically, short answer, I'm going to set a high-pass filter around 200 hertz, and I know that I'm cutting off all the extra low stuff in the sub-range that I don't need, and then I can pay attention to the area above 200 to get the richness of the voice. and figure out what else to EQ. Katie, I'm not sure if you heard me. Katie Two Hill, yes, this is going to automatically go to replay in the Facebook group and on YouTube. So you can watch it and watch it and watch it again and watch it again and watch it again. And ask me questions because I know you want to learn about this stuff. So let's hang out and do that. So first thing is I put a high pass filter on the group, and let's even high pass at 200 hertz in case I have to come back to this session later. I want to remember what I did. I put that on the group because I know it's the same vocalist. Her voice is not going to go 2 octaves lower between the verse and the overdub. So I want to maximize my RAM, preserve plug-in space, and I don't need to put a high pass filter on every sound.
Ask here, will you tire? Walking through this fire, burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
Okay, now I got a question for you. What's the next thing you would do on this vocal? If you were working on this, what's the next thing you would do and how would you do it? I'm looking for a special word that's
walking through this fire, burn away no longer.
And I hear it right here.
That which makes us stronger.
Do you hear that? There's something happening right here. Lauren's here. There's 2 things here. And I want to say publicly, now that Lauren's here, anytime you put a vocalist under the microscope in a mix session, you're going to hear things that sound kind of weird and don't sound perfect. I even feel like that on broadcast when you can hear me breathing. So as a studio engineer, when you're doing a mix session, you never want to embarrass your vocalist. You never want to point out stuff that was a mistake or be like, oh, look, you can hear the vocalist, like blowing their nose. People can be really sensitive about that. I know Lauren's hardcore and she's like really confident about what she's doing, and it's awesome. Thank you for letting me do this on live video. But in general, when you're doing studio productions, don't make your vocalists feel weird. Just be like, hey, we're going to clean this up a little bit, make it sound awesome so you feel good and everybody can hear your voice. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be like, oh my God, look, she moved her foot on the floor. I can hear it. Because it's all about having a good end result that makes everybody feel awesome. I know you can take it. Cool. The word I was looking for is bleed. And right in this little section, there is some mic bleed where you can hear her headphones in the mic, and then there's a little bit of an inhale. So listen to the whole flow of this thing, and in between the words, you can actually hear the mic bleed spilling over.
Ask here, will you tire? Walking through this fire, burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
So a little bit of mic bleed is not a problem. That always happens with, on stage with live sound, it's like nothing but bleed. Bleed means the mic is picking up a sound other than the thing you want. So with a vocalist, you can pick up the headphones. You might hear the drummer. If you're recording a jazz band, you could be like all in the same room. So maybe you have the vocalist as the loudest in the mic, but you hear everybody else in the mic and you have to work with that. So bleed is not necessarily a problem, but we do want to work with it. And first, I want to show you the long, slow, difficult way that I don't like, which is to go to your track mixer, track volume, and go in with your pencil tool and find a place you don't like and activate pencil and draw out a little thing. And then not only that, but you also have to make it a little bit of a volume fade and do a little bit of that and zoom in on it. And all these little inhales look like little footballs. So you take those like that and make a little volume ramp. And what we essentially did was just muted the place in between words.
Walking through this fire, burn away no.
Now you can do that. And if you're really doing like a super, super detailed job where you want to have intimate control over every single sound in the track, that's what you do. And that's cool. It's time consuming. You get a great result and you have perfect control over what happens. But I don't necessarily want to do that for a couple of reasons. Hey, Brendan, how you doing? The reasons I want to do it this way is that I want to show you some more audio engineering tools to learn about and how effective they can be for not only studio engineering, but live sound. For example, if you're performing with a mic and you want to get rid of mic bleed. Also, we are not 100% sure that this song is written correctly. I mean, we might change the verses, we might change the lyrics, we might change the recording and do another take. So I'm not going to go in and detail edit the automation on this whole entire thing because I'm not even sure if it's finished. I mean, if this turns out to be the final take, I might go back and do that. But let's look at some other solutions. So we got a loop going on. I'm going to turn on the gate.
Walking through this fire, burn away no longer.
And what does a noise gate do? Exactly like it sounds like. It's a gate that you can't get through until the gate opens. So kind of like a compressor, the first thing you want to do is get your hand on the threshold to define when the gate opens. And the other one, instead of doing makeup gain like on a compressor, now we're going to use noise floor, where when the floor is at minus infinity, the gate is closed. When the floor is at 0, the gate's not even operating. Even though the gate's closed, it's not doing any.
Ask you, will you tire?
See, now the gate is all the way down, but the floor is...
fire. Burn away no longer.
Gate's closed, floor is all the way down.
Stronger.
So the floor is like your volume control, and the gate threshold is going to control when
stop, we be
it affects it.
creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through the
All right, that's bad gating right there.
burn away no longer. Which makes us strong.
The challenge I'm doing right here is I want to get the gate to open only on the words. I want to cut out the background bleed and make it sound natural. Those are the rules.
Ask you, will you tire?
So first thing is get the threshold down.
Through this fire.
And now I hear it clicking.
Burn away no longer.
Just like on a sidechain compressor, if the attack time and the release time are too short, you're going to get some clicks. So I'll give you a couple settings. Let's go around 5 milliseconds attack time. Release time around 25 milliseconds. This applies to sidechain gates on compression. This also applies to synthesizers. If you have a too short attack and release time on a synth, you get a click at the beginning. Really bad on bass. It's how to fix it. Longer attack and release times.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
All right.
Purify all that you're making. Don't
Now we're getting there. It's kind of bouncing open and closed.
ask you.
It's bouncing open and closed in between words. So what I want is for the gate to stay open when she's singing and close in between the words. But the gate is a little dumb and doesn't know which one is a word and which one is a gap. So we got to give the gate some more information with the hold control, which tells it how long to stay open before it closes. Let's see if we can make this sound more natural with a longer hold time.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
Okay, watch on the words.
Walking through this fire.
Walking through this fire, right?
Walking through this fire.
With the hold,
Walking through this fire.
hold time short,
Burn. Walking through this fire.
you can see the gate bounces on the
Walking,
words walking, but when I make the hold time longer, it stays open.
walking through this fire. Burn. Walking through this fire. Burn. Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this
All
fire.
right, we had a little inhale there.
Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
So let's get a little more control on when the gate opens and closes by using the return knob. You can see the threshold has a little bottom threshold. So the top one is going to control when the gate opens. The bottom one is going to control when it closes, which will let us give a little more control on what we're hearing.
Ask you, will you tire? Walk this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Ask you,
That's
will
pretty
you
good.
tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
So the result we got is that we cut out the bleed in between words. The gate doesn't bounce open and closed or chatter. The word is chatter. So we don't have that chattering sound of the gate closing too much or too often. And basically we hear the sound we want, we get rid of the sound we don't want, and you don't really have to worry about mic bleed because this is all synchronized with all the background music. So when the vocal is in the music, you're not even going to notice that there was a little bit of bleed in with the vocals. It's just going to sound good. Let's go to the
Ask you, will you tire?
let's just check and see when it gets a little louder if that's still working.
This fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distanced illusion. Ask you, will you tire?
Okay, so we are basically done with that. I'm going to copy this gate and just move on to the next audio file. Before I even get into EQ, compression, volume, pan, mixing, anything like that, I want to do the same gate on each sound and just kind of clean up our things. Kind of like if you're making a salad, you got to peel all the cucumbers first before you put them in the bowl. Doesn't make sense to put a whole cucumber in a salad bowl and try to peel it when there's a salad on top of it. It's not going to work. Believe me, I tried.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire, burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
Got the same settings there.
Don't ask you, will you tire? Walking through, ask you, will you tire? Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire.
Let me know if that's loud
Burn
enough
away no longer.
on the feed.
That which makes us stronger.
Oh, good. All that noise in between there is cut out.
Don't stop, we be creating.
All right, harmony. Dig it.
Undistanced illusion. Ask you,
Now,
will you
before I go to
tire?
do
Walking,
the third one, I want to just listen to these two together and make sure I'm on the right track.
ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you, will you tire?
Okay. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but at the end of the word illusion, there is
Illusion.
the second track doesn't have the last syllable of illusion. It's like
Illusion. Illusion.
Now that's interesting. I'm not sure why that is. Let's go to track 3 or the third channel of the vocals and see if there is something about the illusion. And that's especially cool. What the message here is that as a singer, you don't read the words on the paper like if you're reciting a poem or doing like reading like a book. You can say half the syllables. You might have heard people say when you're singing and you say the word love, you don't say love, you say low. Baby, I'm so in love with you. Whatever. You can totally morph the vocals you're pronouncing technically with your mouth muscles. You don't have to say every single word that's on paper. So maybe that's going on right here. Maybe it's going to sound awesome. I'm going to say she probably knows what she's doing. So let's hear track 3, spoken. Mikey said, what a great technique. Never thought of using a gate like that. Hell yeah, man. That comes straight out of live sound. Yeah, you can manually cut out the inhales and gaps, and that works. But I got schooled on this when I was working on a radio show with a guy who'd been doing a radio show for 10 years. And we did a spot. We recorded the vocals. It was for a 30-second promo for one of our parties. And I was like, all right, now we got to go in and edit all the breaths. And he's like, hey, man, hear that? He said, if you cut out all the breaths too hard, it doesn't sound natural. It sounds a little too clean, and it doesn't feel like it's a real person talking. It's like a little bit like, like if a person's wearing so much makeup, it looks like a theater costume instead of a real person. So you don't have to annihilate every single inhale. Track 13, gate.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
Oh, that's so cool.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
Now I'm hearing a couple little inhales after that, which makes us stronger. So let's
Ask you, will
change
you
our gate a little
tire?
bit.
Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
Yo, Sony. I'm not making fun of that.
Don't stop, we be.
Okay. Accent track.
Distance, illusion. Ask you.
Yep, illusion. That track has the end of the illusion. And we cut out the breaths. We cut out the background noise. Let's just compare without the gate.
Don't stop, we be.
Huh. Sounds like somebody cut some out there already.
Distance, illusion. Ask you, will you tire? walking through this fire.
All right, now let's turn the gate on and see if we got those breaths out of the way.
Don't ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer.
Yeah, that's working.
That which makes us stronger.
Okay, let's go and put it all together. See what we got with 11, 12,
Don't stop.
11, 12, and 13 together.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion.
All right, now I'm going to play a little game here. I want to see how good I can make this mix using the simplest tools possible. If you came in late so far, all I really did was I looked at the track on Spectrum Analyzer and made the decision to high pass at 200 hertz because her voice is not doing anything underneath that, and it's not a bass drum. So high pass filter 200 hertz. Then we went through and used a gate to clean up the most obvious problem, which was next. That was mic bleed of headphone noise in the mic and a little bit of breathing. Oh, Sonny, I hate breaths. I always take mine out. I know what you mean, right? If a client has to keep them in, I would for their art, but I hate breaths in my shit. I know, man. I don't even like hearing them when I'm on the mic. I have a gate on this broadcast mic, believe it or not, because I don't want to hear myself breathing. So, okay, how do I make a really simple vocal mix that sounds great as soon as possible? A little bit of high pass filter, a little bit of gate. Those are both two removal techniques. High pass filter is a frequency tool to fix the frequency range. Gate is a timing tool to cut out the audio time that we don't need. Two categories of tools, frequency and time. Keep that in your brain because that's kind of how it all works. Next, I want to do some pan position. I got a lead vocal and two support vocals around it. So the question is, if I pan 12 and 13 to the sides, are they going to work? So how do I know I want 11 in the middle? Well, 11 is the main vocal that has lyrics the whole time. I titled that track main. She titled it verses 1. And when you look at the verse, the track 11 has the most lyrics in it. So I know that's going to be a center lead vocal, which is going to be straight up the middle. Now, Andrew says, sounds good already. Thank you. So the question is, if I pan 12 and 13 to the sides, is the vocal mix going to get pushed to left or right? Or is there equal energy in 12 and 13? So I look in my timeline and I think everywhere I see 12, I see audio on 13, except for that little bump of So 12 and 13 are mostly balanced. The important parts have sound in both sides. So I'm going to go for it and pan these apart a bit, not hard panning, but a good amount. And then let's listen through and see if that sounds like a cool vocal mix.
Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you.
Okay, I like that. And I'm going to do something I don't want to do, but I'm going to extend the loop and make sure I can hear the pickup note of how the verse comes in, which means when we loop it, it's going to be a little too long, but I want to hear this little thing right there.
I ask you, will you
Oh, I ask you. See, the first word is I. I didn't know that.
I ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. I ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire.
Look at what I highlighted.
Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that.
Question, that little to me came in a tiny bit late. So I'm already going to get busy and start chopping. I think intuitively that this would sit better scooching that forward. Now that's easy to do with an audio edit. I just selected it, did Command E and moved it. The bigger danger is, what if all of these files are a couple of milliseconds late? And when I shifted that one early, I really should have shifted everything early. That's always a possibility if you are not 100% sure about the synchronization of your vocals with your music, don't chop up your audio files because then you're going to be screwed. But let's say it's all right for now. Okay, we got a question. So question, when cutting out low end, do you use a high pass filter or a low shelf? I heard about using low shelf, but I never tried it yet. What's my thoughts? I use a high pass filter because it lets you reduce the volume a lot more. Let me give you an example with a low shelf EQ. There's a limit of how many dB of reduction you can do. So let's take band 1, set it on low shelf. And let's say I wanted to have my frequency up around 100. What did I say? Oh, I was about 200. Now, when I go to reduce the volume, see the gain knob only goes down to -15, which means like everything along that whole frequency line all the way down to the bottom of the frequency range is only reduced by 15 dB. So that's a limit to how quiet you can make it. But with a high pass filter, you at the frequency cutoff point, the frequency cutoff point is defined as where the sound is 3 dB quieter. And then when you go an octave below that, it's like 24 dB quieter. And an octave below that, another 24. That's what this slope control is for right here. That's 12 dB per octave versus 24 dB per octave. So the farther away you go, the lower you go, the more volume reduction happens. It's like this line continues going down through the bottom of the laptop and like down like this. So I use a high pass filter because basically the lower frequencies get totally, totally quiet, and it does a better job of reducing volume. Whereas a shelf EQ can only cut a certain amount. But the cool thing about a shelf EQ is that you can also boost, and also when you get the resonance control happening, you get that cool bump, right? So you can move that around and kind of like cut stuff below there and then put a bump up on your kick drum or whatever you put it on. Filters also can have resonant bumps if you want to do it that way. But since we're really just we're cutting something out and not trying to jack up the low end of a kick drum, that's why I do it that way. Good question, good question. Can you use this voice thing as a rhythm and repeat it in some way? Aha, we're getting into the creative remix. Yes, absolutely, definitely we can use that as a rhythmic thing. Let's just hear it and see if it sounds good.
Walking through this fire.
Get my bounce on.
Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion.
All right, here's a question for y'all. What's the next thing you want to do? I just said ouch when I heard something. I think it was right here.
Don't stop, we be creating. Don't stop, we be creating. Take.
Okay, don't stop and take. Those two sounds have something going on that needs to get fixed. What is it?
Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you.
This is when I wish we were in a classroom together so I could just ask you the question, you could tell me the answer, and I know we all hear the same thing. What I'm hearing is a high-pitched sound coming through on don't stop, on the stop, and also on the T of take. Believe it or not, T, the sound, the consonant T is sibilant. It's got a lot of high frequency in there. Let's look at this on our master spectrum and just see if we can get an idea of what frequencies are on there. By the way, this compressor limiter is on my master just for broadcast purposes, not for what I would really do in the mix.
Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire.
What I'm looking for right now is everything from like 4,000 on up. I want to find some spikes of S and T and Ch, things that are sibilant. So I know where to EQ out with a notch.
Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
7.
Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be.
Ooh, right there on the stop, don't stop. 8.3. So I'm seeing 7,000, 8.3 thousand.
Take a moment.
And the T on take was a little lower, down around 6,000, 6.9. So clearly we got some work to do around the neighborhood of 6,000 up to 9,000. Yeah, Mikey, T, T, S, Ch, P, Ch. All sounds you got to watch out for. Now, P is a pop. P, 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 P. That's going to have some bass. Good if you're beatboxing and a vocal that you're recording. Might not be so good. So here's a question. I'm kind of like feeling I want to drop a de-esser on here, but I know that the de-esser has a compressor threshold. So we could drop a de-esser on here and get it working on the group channel. That would be efficient of only using one little plugin. But what do we do if we start compressing each sound, raising up the volume, making each channel louder? Then our de-esser threshold is going to change. So we're going to have to deal with that, but I don't want to do any more processing until I get rid of that S sound just for my own sanity. So let's put in 7 kilohertz. Let's put in a bandpass filter. Let's narrow up the Q. So we're having the compressor sidechain react to the exact frequencies we want. De-esser at, I don't know, let's say 7 kilohertz. It's kind of cool to label your plugins. Then you can minimize like that and you know what it is. Neat little trick.
Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire.
If you're not used to sidechaining, what I'm doing is making a special kind of compressor that only reduces volume when a certain frequency comes through. We set the input filter to react to the frequency around 7 kilohertz. So the only time we're going to get gain reduction is when that sound hits that frequency. The rest of the time, it doesn't compress. That's how cool it is.
Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion.
This is working really well. You can see the orange gain reduction is bouncing on the sounds like S and T. Let's just check it again.
Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
The thing I don't like is that my threshold is so low. So it makes that kind of hard to work with it because I don't have as much control down there. So what I'm going to do is turn up the gain of the input signal. That's only affecting the gain of what's coming into the compressor, and it'll make it easier to work with the DS threshold.
Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Ask you, will you tire? Walking through this fire.
Yeah.
Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
You don't want to overdo it with your de-esser because you can make it sound like the person had the really bad lisp and they're talking all wrong. You don't want it to sound like that. So don't overdo it with your de-esser. Let's leave it like that. We're basically, this is comfortable for me to listen to as an engineer, so I can go through and listen to a whole bunch more loops. But so far, the other kind of like little mistake I made is that I'm only listening to one part of the song, and there's a bunch of other material. So let's go to this verse, cut a little loop out here, and see if this is doing anything really different. And right away, I noticed that verse 1 has a loud blurb right here. Second verse has something that looks like it's even louder, and maybe the overall verse might be the same volume, might not be. How about the side, pan, left, right? I don't know. Let's check it out.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh, well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh, well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Getting harder.
Now I'm listening to track 12.
Oh, well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh, well, we'll hit it longer.
All right, that gate is chattering a little bit. It's a little bit different than the settings on the first one. See it on track 12 right here. That verse, you can even see it's a little bit quieter, so the gate is going to have different threshold settings. I don't really love that. What am I saying? Specifically, I want the gate to sound right in both parts. So I'm going to automate the gate threshold and just do a really simple way to change the gate and make it sound good on the second part of the verses.
That which makes us stronger. That which makes us stronger.
Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Went and done automated the wrong one. Derp.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh, well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmasculating desire, arise thy better fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmasculating desire, arise thy better fire.
There we go. I just had to raise the gate a little bit from 27 to 34 dB, a couple of dB, to make the gate react differently to the next verse. And now we can leave that alone and do our compression and everything after the gate. So I don't have to worry about that setting. I want to do things once and not go back and redo it a million times. So that gate's working. Let's go to channel 13 and just check our gate settings to make sure that it's the same later on in the song.
Truth, it's getting harder.
Oh, spoken.
Oh well, we'll hit it long.
Okay.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise, thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise, thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it.
So again, a slight gate amount adjustment, and it's happening. So we got our gate setting. I know the frequency is not going to change, so I can leave the auto filter up at 200 hertz high pass filter. Let's unmute everything and check how our lead vocal sounds with the stereo backups on our second verse.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise, thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise, thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise, thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise, thy bird of fire.
Okay, what I just did was I muted 11 so I could hear the stereo mix by themselves, and 12 and 13. They're a little offset. There's it's pulling a little bit to the left because 12 is kind of louder, but I sort of like it that way, that the 13 spoken channel is not as loud in the track.
Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Masquerading desire, arise thy bird of fire.
Okay. We're in the flow now, and I'm at the louder of the two verses, which we found out when we were checking our gate. So now I'm going to start working on compression to get each channel up to the loudest it can be within its channel container. So that's like signal to noise ratio. I want to make sure that when I am looking at the VU meters, these little green VU meters in between the plugins and at the end of the channel strip, I want to make sure this green signal is up as close to the top as I can get it without clipping into the red. That means there's the most signal possible inside that channel, the best ratio of signal compared to noise. And then we can control the output volume of each one of these channels to make a nice solid mix. In other words, we have to compress them at the channel level because each vocal is at a different volume. If I put one compressor on this vocal group, it'll work, but whatever's loudest is going to hit the compressor, and if anything is quieter, it's going to kind of sound like it's dropping out and not being heard as much. And that's not what I want. What I want to do is have track 13, which is quieter. I want to hear everything on track 13, which means compress it, but keep that whole compressed sound at a lower volume. What I don't want to do is have 13 smashed up loud to the level of the main volume where it's all getting compressed as one group. Hey, Daniel's here. What's going on? Thanks for the laughs last weekend. We were cracking up last time we were talking. So let me know if that makes sense. My compression decision is to compress each channel individually so I can control the output volume of each track after it's compressed. And what I don't want to do is compress all three of them together and smash it like they're all like equal power, because they're not. The main 11 is the most important. 13 is less. It's important, but it's not. It shouldn't be competing against track 11. So that's why I'm using a glue compressor on each channel. I'm going to listen to it solo to dial in my settings, and then I'm going to listen to it in the mix to make sure that I can hear it completely. And the rule I'm going for here is do as little as possible. Do not smash the vocal to death. Don't crush it. Don't kill it. Keep it alive. Keep it dynamic. Keep it vibrant. Just make sure you know what you're doing.
Longer, mask latent desire.
All right, so
Arise thy bird of fire.
what are my decisions
Truth,
here?
it's getting
2-to-1 ratio.
harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder.
I'm still hearing
oh well,
that T.
We'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent.
Okay, I want to talk about what I'm hearing, what I'm listening to. So the first thing I did was I dialed down a bunch of threshold and put some makeup gain up. And remember, I'm always talking about these as opposites. So you don't want to move them together like this because you don't want to turn up the volume really loud. You never want to blast your ears with a ton of volume. So you start with the makeup gain at 0. As you dial down threshold, you're going to do more gain reduction, which is making it quieter. You add makeup gain after the gain reduction starts to hit. And likewise, if you undo the threshold, you better bring the makeup down so you don't end up jacking your ears with a super loud sound. If you kind of think about like turning on hot water in the sink. If you have a hot and cold faucet, you never want to start with hot water all by itself because you burn the baby, right? You turn on a little hot water, a little cold water, make sure the mix is warm, and then you turn them up both so you get more water. And then when you go to turn it off, you don't turn off the cold water first because then you're going to have hot water coming out and it's going to burn the baby or burn your nuts or whatever. You always want to think about it like that. Don't blast the levels. And these two work together, and that's really good for your compression theory because as you use these two together, you can keep the sound at a constant level in the mix and actually decide, are you hearing it more compressed or are you just hearing it louder? When you're with people, louder is going to be better. So don't make your decisions on what's loudest. Actually hear the quality of the compression to decide if it's doing something you want it to do. So this was around -23, and this was up around -8. And then what I was doing was basically just listening to the loop and asking the question, do I hear all the words with the compressor off? Do I hear it better with the compressor on? Let's listen to that again.
Hit it longer. Mask latent desire.
I mean, it sounds pretty good right now.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Mask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer.
And then also when I'm asking the question, how much makeup gain is too much? How much is enough? What I'm going for is just enough that it starts to hit that clip light. It starts to clip on the output or on the VU meter here and not quite not quite clipping.
Hit it longer, emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer.
Now I'm on 13.
Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire.
I feel like I can really squash channel 13 with a harder kind of compression, and it sounds better when I do that. So I'm not going to ask the question why. I don't care. I just want to do it that way. Technical, longer attack time on vocals, because the part of vocals that makes it intelligible are the attacks, the consonants, t, ch, b, p, d, f, all those little sounds. The ones that were killing us with the de-esser, those are really important for intelligibility. So when you're choosing vocal compressor settings, start with a longer attack time. And I use auto release because it works pretty well. And I think on 13, I'm going to go to a medium ratio of 4:1. The other ones I was going with a 2:1 ratio under the guise of do no harm and don't over compress your vocals, because you can't undo over compression. Like once you burn the toast, you can't unburn the toast. You could probably toast it again later if it wasn't toasted enough, but you can't unburn it. So don't over compress your vocals. If I do mess up and over compress channel 13, at least it's like not the lead vocal. It's kind of like a surrounding backup vocal, so we could survive that.
Hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which
Don't
makes
forget
us
to save.
stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion.
Oh my gosh, I forgot we have a whole chorus group to mix too. Duh. It's been an hour. We're not going to get through this in one day, which is fine with me. I'm happy going through a couple of essential processes and telling you why I'm doing those things. And fortunately, since it's the same person on verse and chorus, we can pretty much copy our processing chains and just dial in a different threshold on those. So the last thing I'm going to do right here is I dropped EQ8 on the verse group. Why did I drop it on the group level instead of the channel level? Well, from listening to these, it's the same singer, same mic, same day, same recording, same voice, same tone. So I don't have to worry about the different frequency balance of these. And because EQ is affecting frequency, I don't have to worry about dynamics or different start and stop. Like on the individual channels, they had different dynamics, different loudness, different intensity. So I needed different thresholds for compressor and gate. That's why I needed separate gate and compressor on each of the vocal channels. But when it comes to frequency balance, since they're all the same kind of thing, I can get away with doing the high pass filter, the EQ, and the de-esser on the group level, because all three of those, even if they're coming through quietly, they have the same frequency balance, and this EQ is going to react to all that. So let's go through and just EQ a little bit and see if we can make this sound like
Hit it longer.
better.
Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire.
Okay.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder.
Do you hear that around 250? When I boost that up, it's like,
Hit it longer. Unmask latent desire.
a little bit of a bell
Arise thy
kind
bird of fire. Truth, it's getting
get that
harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Unmask latent desire. Arise thy bird of fire.
What I did was I basically did an EQ sweep with that band 7 when I went through the whole thing. And I was listening for places that sounded a little weird. So I found 350, 550, somewhere around 900 there was something, even though that's a very useful part of the band for vocals. There was something weird in there. And then like 3000 or something. So these are the frequency ranges I want to go through and dip out. And that's going to be it for today. I think what I'll do is I'll copy these settings through to the chorus so that tomorrow we can go from verse and chorus together, cleaned up, EQ'd, whatever. We'll go into a little more EQ and then get into like compression, effects, and bring it into the mix. So EQ.
Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer. That which makes us stronger.
Right around 580.
Purify all that you're making.
Do you hear
Don't
that?
stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our
It's really cool when you find the right frequency to cut out, you can dump out a bunch of it and it doesn't feel like anything gets lost. It feels like you just hear more of what you want. It's kind of like the gate. When that gate started working, I didn't even really remember it was there. I was just like, oh, I'm not getting distracted by the mic bleed and the breaths. When I ditch out 580, just feel how good it feels when that's gone.
walking through this fire. Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a
It's just like it just like makes space in the mix, which I really like. So I don't want to go too crazy. 3 dB is a lot, and a wider Q will be more natural, but let's go about like that. And go up to the next
moment
band.
and stay in our
Band
distance
five.
illusion. Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance
Do you hear that?
illusion.
880?
Walking through this
879?
fire. Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and
Okay.
stay in our distance illusion. Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer that which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Walking through this fire. Burn away no longer
1.5.
that which makes us stronger. Purify all that.
And the higher you go, the narrower you can do the Q. So 1.5 is like, it's a little bit like what we were hearing with the what we needed for the de-esser at 7K, but not as obvious. So I'm not going to hit it that hard, but I am dipping that out. And since we're going crazy with the EQ, this is kind of like if you have like a pear with a little brown spot on it and you cut it out, And then you're like, oh, there's another one. You cut that out. And you're like, oh, there's another little one. You cut it out. Or like cutting the eyes out of potatoes or something like that. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm doing. So band 7.
Walking through this fire, burn away no longer that which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Walking through this fire.
Okay, so I kind of knew where to go around 3.8 kilohertz. What I'm doing here is I'm leaving the de-esser to work up high around 7K, something like that. And I'm just going through some lower ones. And interestingly enough, octaves, EQs work in octaves, frequencies work in octaves, and octaves follow math. So the way octave math works is if you take a frequency and multiply it by 2, it goes to the exact higher octave. For proof, I'm going to put the mouse on the line and pick out a note. How about F, 22 hertz? So what if we double 22? We'll make 44. Is that going to be another note of F? Go up to 44 hertz. Huh, it's the note F. All right, test it again, 88 hertz. I'm looking at this little box in the corner down here, moving up the frequency line up to 88 hertz. Oh, F1. What if we go to 160, 176? 176 hertz. What note is that? 176. F2, an octave higher. The reason I'm mentioning that is in my EQs, I picked out 1.5 kilohertz, right? And I was like, that's the beginning of that de-esser sound, a little bit like that, like scratchy. If you double 1.5, you get 3,000, right? And look, 3.8. Around 3,000, there is something else that needed to get reduced. What do you get if you double 3,000? 6,000. Whereas our de-esser, 7,000. So we're actually finding the same octave of noise in several different places on the EQ. It's so crazy. That's one of my favorite things about EQing. Like if you're doing a bass line and it's huge at 70, you know, you can put up 70 and you're like, yeah, there's my sub. Check out 140. You might have a higher octave, be able to boost that up a little bit and get, like instead of having to layer your bass line and make 2 bass lines where one is higher, you could just boost the higher octave and get the same effect of hearing it on small speakers because you're EQing the higher octave up. Let me know if you're down with octave EQ. Type in EQ if you followed all that, because frequencies and EQs are the absolute magic to unlocking mixing. I should probably do a whole workshop on just octave math because it's so powerful. You can always use it. But let's keep this moving. I want to listen to our vocal in the mix and A/B the EQ and see if it helped, okay?
Walking through this fire, burn away no longer that which makes us stronger. Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Walking through this fire,
Yeah,
burn away no longer
that's what we're cutting out.
that which makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Purify all that you're making. Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion.
Cool. All right, nobody's typing in EQ, but I know you're pretty much with me on this. So let's keep going over here. Let's loop this verse. And now, since we did a little bit of gentle compression at the channel level, now I can go to the group. And even after the de-esser, I'm going to drop another compression, another layer of compression so that I can take those 3 and get them a little bit louder in the mix, group them together and bring it up and just hear the whole thing. Mike, you typed in EQ. Thank you. I know you're not sleeping in class. Daniel, cool tips for sure with the octave EQing to improve the mixing workflow. Yeah, man. And octave EQing, octaves are so interesting. You know the spiritual geometry that goes as above, so below? That literally applies to octaves. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na, bow. Top of the octave, same as bottom of the octave, jumping levels upwards. Holy crap, totally amazing. We could go deep into symbolism on that, but let's just compress this vocal group.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh, well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder. Oh, well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Truth, it's getting harder.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire.
Okay, I want you to hear what else Lauren is doing in this song. I'm really happy with this. This sounds great. It's wide, it's clear, it's crisp, it's in front. The There's no obvious mistakes jumping out at me. We can hear the lead vocal. We can hear the background. There's some stereo separation. We did some really great progress on this. A lot of it was secretly gain staging. I was kind of getting towards gain staging by cleaning up the sound, turning it up a little bit, giving us the right level of sound we want to work with, and then grouping and doing some subtractive EQ and some more whatever. We did a bunch of volume raising. I want to play through all the chorus tracks and just hear how those sound in this song, because this is such a cool song. And then for tomorrow, remember, there's some more to be done. This is a plugin called Auto Pitch from Melda, which does pitch correction. So we're going to go back and listen in detail to her actual pitch. I don't know if anybody was noticing during this, but there's a couple of notes that are a little bit like she slides into them a little bit. Personally, that doesn't bother me that bad because she's a good singer. She's on pitch. She knows what she's doing. She's confident, has cool lyrics. The overall message is all right. So I don't go crazy auto-tuning things to be the ultimate perfection of like robotic perfect vocal sound, because to me, that's not really what I want. But I do want to talk about auto pitch, and I want to give you a link to this plugin bundle, which is free because it has a couple of tools that we don't get from Ableton built-in's plugins. So let's go to the chorus and make sure that when I press play, it's going to work. So what do I got? 5 chorus vocal tracks. They're all going to the chorus group. So I can turn this group down and play through it, and we should be able to hear.
Purify all that you're making.
Something.
Don't stop, we be creating. Take a moment and stay in our distance illusion. Leading to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that I feel. Leading in to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that is real.
I just copied the group effects chain. Let's throw that on there and see how that sounds next time. Now we're in the groove. Here comes verse 2.
Truth, it's getting harder. Oh well, we'll hit it longer. Emasculating desire. Arise thy bird of fire. Leading in to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that I feel. Leading in.
Ooh, harmonies. Oh my God.
Suffering. Leading in, it's all very real. Leading in to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that I feel. Leading in to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that is real.
Oh my God.
Leading in to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that I feel. Leading in to this suffering. Leading in, it's all that is real.
Did you hear that shit? Oh my God. That little end part, it goes into this like,
Leading in, it's all that is real.
at the end she goes into this scale and it's like, da, 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 da. That is cool. I don't know where she came up with that from, but it was freaking awesome. So I'm pretty happy with that. What I just did was I basically took the group effects rack that we made in the verse section and I dropped it on the chorus section and dialed it in. This is why I love Glue Compressor. This was getting smashed at like 10, 15 dB compression, and it still kind of sounded all right. And that chorus group pretty much sounded okay. Now, I know we can go in, we're going to hear the same mic bleed, we're going to hear the same stuff that we heard in the verse, but when it was in the group, in the track, it didn't sound that bad. We got a bunch of layers to work with volume and pan to smooth them out. And believe it or not, the EQ setting might even be a little bit different on the chorus than on the verse, depending on if the singer is going through different chord changes and like singing different notes that we haven't heard yet, the EQ might show up as needing a little bit different tweaks. Mikey says M audio pitch is awesome. Yeah, cool. So let's save this for here and call it done for the day. Thanks for hanging out with me. This got to be a little bit longer than I meant, but who cares? Because it's fun, and I like doing this. I like this little game I'm playing with myself of being like, how much can we do with the fewest possible plugins? How can we be really efficient with our plugin use? Not just drop like a million compressors on every track. Like I've been looking at my old sessions from 2015, 2016. Dude, it looks like somebody was just trying to paint with like 5 paintbrushes in one hand. You know, it's like there was way too many EQs, way too many plugins and compressors and VST compressors on every track for no reason at all. And the whole thing felt smashed, lifeless, and dead and didn't sound good. Duh. So I'm really enjoying doing some mixing with minimal plugins and getting much, much better sound than I ever did before, especially with that thing about using dynamics control on individual channels and frequency control on the group. That is a cool tip that I never put into words like that, but it really makes a lot of sense because it's only the individual channels that need individual dynamics. When they come together and gel, it's one sound that you can EQ as one group. So I hope that makes sense to you. Let me know if you have any more questions about what I did today. We're going to follow up tomorrow with some more vocals, but it's going to be at 2 p.m. because I have a 12 o'clock meeting that I have to go to with some other people. So 2 o'clock, let's get into effects. So we'll talk about some vocal delays, vocal reverbs, which kind of reverb do I use and why, which kind of delay do I use and why, what else do we do to create stereo width besides using the pan knob, and maybe we'll do some auto pitch, auto correction if we find places where it really, really needs it. But I'm saying, auto pitch, auto tune is not my first stop. Like I prefer to work with a singer that makes me feel comfortable. And if it's a little bit off, it's like, I don't know, it's like natural, you know, as long as it feels good, I don't care if it's not super precisely on the beat. It's exactly like quantizing beats. Dude, don't go through and hard quantize every MIDI note in your session because you end up with robotic sounding music that's way too hard quantized and it just doesn't have that feel. You know what I mean? A little bit of feel is like no problem at all. Any thoughts on dynamic EQing next time? Sure. I don't know if I'm going to do it because we don't have a really easy dynamic EQ to work with in Ableton. But so for anybody who doesn't know, dynamic EQing is when you have an EQ that only reacts to a certain volume. So like, it'd be like saying only dip out 100 hertz when you get a loud bass bump coming through, and the rest of the time don't EQ that, which is kind of like the de-esser, where we said anytime the volume gets too loud at 7 kilohertz, we're going to duck that volume out. We did it with the sidechain compressor, which is like a type of dynamic EQ. Another way of doing it is splitting your track up into a whole bunch of different bands and putting a compressor on each band so that anytime this one band gets too loud, the compressor ducks only that band, and then you're only EQing that bandwidth. The reason I don't like dynamic EQ is because I don't have a really good one that's from Ableton that's easy to use. And the more you get into dynamic EQing, the more you have to have really good tools so you don't get phase problems and get way too complicated and making stuff crazy. But yeah, we can talk about that a little bit. I'm going to write that down. Dynamic EQ for Thursday. Reverb, delay. What else did I say? Stereo and auto tune. And farther with glue compression. Name of the game is make the vocals sit in the mix so when people are hearing it, they feel like I'm in a wash of this person's voice and I want to live inside her voice for a million years and the music is just there to make it sound good. That's what I'm going for. You don't have to agree with me on that, but when I hear somebody singing, I get goosebumps and I'm like, oh, I turn it up. It's not about like being in love with the singer. It's just like wanting their voice to continue forever, if that makes sense. Cool. Good question, Daniel. Thank you. And just for a last little ditch, let me remind anybody who's watching that you can get some more help from the Mixatexture member site, which is at courses.mixatexture.com. It's totally free to get your user account. It's a member site that's going to send you emails, keep you on track with what you're doing. So when you sign up for one of these courses, it actually supports your progress. It tracks what you're doing. There's lessons organized in modules that take you through just like our curriculum in a real school, like the core elements of electronic music. What do we got? Start here. Oh, the basics. What are we doing and why? What's module 2? Sound design. Okay, find out what's involved in sound design, like the cycle. That's kind of interesting. Module 3, song form. The guide to building song structure that works. That sounds cool. How do you do that? Module 4, the mix down. All right, notice that the mix down is not volume module 1. You do sound design first, then song form, then mixing, specifically for electronic music. Module 5, since I want you to really understand this and use it, here's a module on how to apply this. So when you get some of the recipes from the course, it'll go through practical things on why we should use them. A couple little comments. Fabian Bless said nice things. I like it when people say nice things. So no risk refund policy. You could click the buy now button, sign up, pay what you want. This is worth $97 or more because this is really fundamental things that I learned from making tracks on electronic hardware when we had a sampler and a sequencer and a synthesizer and you had to make a track with all that in a cassette deck. Now you can do it all in Ableton. It's much easier. And the member site is here to help you do that. So you can grab some courses, pay what you want. Or if you want to support in general because you love the track feedback and the live videos and the community and hanging out and getting to see me on video, you can sign up and become a Patreon supporter for $10 a month. And you get access to the archive of custom sounds, which are really special effects racks and instruments that I built for my own tracks. And they're all macro mapped with 8 knobs. So you get to dial them in, tweak them, use them to make your own sounds in your own tracks and get some really cool sounds like basses and subs, drum racks full of interesting hits, synths, leads, pads, that kind of thing, arpeggiated ones, and effects racks, not only for making cool sound, but for performing if you want something to tweak during your live set to make it sound better, or even to tweak during your recording project so it sounds like there's a living person in there instead of just a person press and play. That's what it's all about. I don't see any more questions coming in, so thank you so much, Daniel, Mikey, Stefan, Ricardo, Tahiri's been here, Lori, I don't know if Lori's still here, Sonny's here, Stefan, and of course, thanks to Lauren for letting us mix this beautiful vocal in this track. I'm really excited how this song is coming together. I'm excited for it to get done. So that's it for now. I might pop in live a little bit later and do another one of these videos on some other different tracks. And then tomorrow, 2 p.m., vocals part 2 with effects. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. See you later.